Hello, let's talk about a new article I wrote today. It's called Measuring What Matters, How to Prove Your Design System's Business Impact. And the article is about how you can measure if your design system actually provides business results. And if you see like here that, for example, Jules Maher wrote that tracking adoption is an essential metric for assessing the success of a design system. And this is true because if you implement a design system in your organization, you want it to be actually used by other teams. So you can measure how many people and how much the design system is actually used. For example, in the means of using components or implementing the design system. And this is one approach. Another quote is from Jacqueline Phillips that proposes that if actually design system is adopted in a company, you can start to dive deeper into how it's being used. And by this he means to actually see if developers use properties provided by design system components, or they use like other custom components, or maybe they hack your components. And if they use properly, for example, variables with colors, sizes of fonts, and so on. So this is like also a thing, but what we are missing here is that it doesn't answer a question how we measure the impact of the design system for the business. And especially now it's important because companies focus on as always, but maybe now more about business results, optimizing costs, and improving revenue streams, and how the design system fits into this criteria, right? If you have a high adoption rate, it means that people save time, not writing their own components, and also the system is aligned, so the user experience is aligned. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the implementations are right and it improves, for example, user experience, because user experience depends on how the design is implemented, how the design is designed and how it's implemented. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about how the business impact of the design system can be actually measured. And of course, like if it comes to the user, we can use surveys to check if they are satisfied with the application we develop. But it doesn't answer the question 100% because surveys measure overall experience. It doesn't measure the design system experience per se. So if you have problems in your application, in the processes that are implemented in your application, a survey can help. But if you have problems on the component levels, then surveys won't necessarily give you the answer that there is something wrong. And this, you can observe this in high-end software where you know that there are teams that work on this system or application, and anyways there are bugs and things are going wrong. And there is a lot of reasons to this, but what we have now in front-end engineering, that is unit tests, end-to-end tests, and even manual testers, they are unable to give a full perspective if the application is usable, because it all boils down to how the user uses your application and your components. And if we have a design system in a company, this is a good news because we have components that are aligned across the company with high adoption. But it also means that you can have a good experience with these components application-wise or bad experience. But on the level of the design system, we can also do something about it. And the article walks you through it. And here is an interesting example. We have a time picker, right? And you can choose some specific time. And it seems that this component is quite good. It is from Angular Material component library. And it's good. It's like a general purpose component, but you can see that you have to click to open the drop down, you have to choose a time, or you have to type the time if you don't necessarily want an hour or half-hour value. So you can imagine that in an application where you have to choose a lot of times, it will be tedious to use this component actually, because you have to do a lot of things to actually choose the time. And this is like interesting approach from Vitaly Friedman's article, Designing the Perfect Date and Time Picker, where you have hours. You can just click an hour, and then on the bottom you have something unusual because you choose minutes from these steps like 0, 5, 10, 15, and so on. And it's very easy to use because you just click an hour and minutes. Additionally, if we provide the user with default values, the user won't have to click anything, just accept, right? If there is a possibility to predict what he wants on the context. So there is a possibility to improve the user experience here, and like, but it's not like you have to do it with every component. In a component library, you have like 20, 50 components, and we cannot like optimize every component to edge experience because it's not always necessary. For example, if, I don't know, application doesn't require you to put a lot of time values. For example, it's not a time planner or calendar app. So the important thing is to actually recognize where you have to make an impact, where is the problem first, with what component, and to actually measure if what we did improves it. Because like you have to have this data, otherwise it's just experimenting, and we need to have it on the component level. And like this is like another interesting statistic. Like there is a research that shows that over 10 years, design-led companies outperformed S&P index by 211%. And another one is interesting, that 91% of users exit a service when having poor experience without complaining. So it means that even if you have surveys and other data, users, if they will feel tedious using your application or service, they will just quit it. So you will only see a drop value and nothing more. So it's very hard in this case to actually recognize where is the issue. And from the design system perspective, it's important to pinpoint what component causes a slowdown and trouble for the user, and it can be measured. But first, like, we define the definition. We have to have the definition of what is a good component, and for purpose of this, our talk, like, I describe it as a component that allows user to fulfill his task with least effort. And by that I mean the user just uses the least time to actually do something with the component, least clicks, least taps, least swipes, and so on and so on. So this is like a successful component because they can just do what they need and move forward. Otherwise, if the time is high, we can recognize there is some friction and we have to address it on the design system level. So this can be implemented actually on the design system level, on the component library level. And this instrumentation can measure these times, these numbers, and actually show us what component is problematic. Here is like another interesting example. We have another from Angular Material component library, a chip component. This is also a general purpose component. It is quite nice. But as you can see here, if I can type the values, but if I will paste a value that is comma separated, like in a second, and then it is recognized as one chip. So this is problematic. For example, if you have an application where you can build websites, right? The user has to provide hashtags for each page that are and you provide chip component for this. It's good because they can remove chips. Like this is another topic, how to remove chips, but they can add, remove chips, and this is okay. But usually what people do is they actually research the keywords, prepare a comma-separated list somewhere else, and then they want to put it into the editor. Because there is like 10 or 20 keywords, meta tags they want to provide. And actually there are also services where people or tools that provide you with proper meta tags based on the content of the page. So as you can see, like if someone wanted to paste 20 keywords here, it's impossible. They have to paste one by one. And actually, if you have the design system component library instrumentation place, you will see that it takes too long to actually do it. And if someone has spends 30 seconds typing the keywords manually or pasting them, and then he has to do it for like 10 or 20 pages, subpages of his page, we can for sure know he isn't satisfied with the service and he is on the edge of choosing other service provider. So this is like crucial information for our business. And why it's important, because how to measure such things, because it encourages design system team to make bold changes. Because if you have measurement in place, you can make basically any proposed change and see the results. If the user succeeds faster and with less friction in his goal on this component. And then we have something that we can talk with business about, because we can actually prove with data that our work on the design system actually aligns with business results. Because less friction means less drop off, better retention is better lifetime value of a user, and it directly translates to money. So yeah, so this is something worth investigating. If someone is working with this design system, and this approach of instrumentation components of design system really fills the gap between the world of design, front-end development, and business, and actually shows in the organization that what design system team works on actually is important to business. So this is not a supportive role only for other developers that is optional, but this is something very crucial to the company, because a good design system will improve business results, and a bad design system or design system that is only maintained will drop the business results. So I wanted to share this article. If you want to read it in full, you can go to my Medium account and search for Measuring What Matters, how to prove your design system's business impact. Have a nice day. Bye bye.